esto desde se puede hacer. Y la idea es que lo pongamos en nuestro estudio. Estoy hablando hay un departamento acá de periodismo y ellos tienen claro las cosas siempre, entonces voy a pedir una prestada para estas fotos de los y aquí es por eso no creo que esté.
No sé si hay alguna pregunta. En este momento, ¿cómo estás cargando la lista de los proyectos? O sea, todo está, ¿cómo haces tú para saber cuáles son los proyectos? Porque nosotros habíamos hecho algo para hacer el listado, y una de las cosas que se echa chéverísimo es si también se pudiera cargar.
Se podría. Ahora, uno de los requerimientos, esto lo hicimos porque hubo una empresa chiquita de Rizados de Campo que necesitaba hacer una presentación desde los apartamentos. Y el requerimiento era como, estas aplicaciones hay muchas en la web, pero la mayoría de las aplicaciones lo que hacen es descargar en el momento en que uno le da clic el contenido de lo que uno quiera mostrar, y el problema de eso es que no tiene que tener conexión web. Entonces lo que ellos querían era que uno pudiera descargarlo previamente y tenerlo en el celular.
Entonces, esto fue como una aplicación.
Entonces, esto es como una aplicación que tiene todo el contenido adentro y que uno necesita la red.
Pero lo que hay que hacer es como que se conecte y después baja todo y hasta la próxima servicio. Pero de todas formas sería chéverísimo, si aún así fuera así, pues de todas formas considerar que los datos fueran dinámicos, que fuera muy fácil.
Sí, toca encontrar el punto intermedio, o sea, que uno pueda descargarlos, pero tenerlos acá y cuando quiera volverlos a otro.
Por ejemplo, cargarlos desde un JSON, algo así, cargar pero bueno, en el JSON pueden estar los enlaces y... Mejor dicho, ¿cómo lo están haciendo en esta hora?
Ahorita es la aplicación. Es una aplicación que tiene todo embebido.
Tienen varias. Tienen varias también. Tienen varias.
Tienen la lista.
Es un PowerPoint. Es un PowerPoint que tiene embebido los contenidos.
Pero que ya está cableado. Ahora también hay un nuevo estándar, un nuevo protocolo, se llama WebSockets. Es una implementación de JavaScript, pero que trabaja sobre sockets. No trabaja sobre HTTP. Entonces es mucho más rápido de uno de control de la pena que ese protocolo.
Sí, lo que pasa, la gran diferencia es que ellos necesitan lo que funciona offline, entonces los WebSockets no les funcionan bien. La idea del JSON es solamente tener un archivo que sea modificado, en el cual yo pueda...
Yo creo que la vaina de actualizar podría funcionar de old fashion, pero funciona. Entonces, y el mismo visor, digamos, se cambia de presentación.
Sí, lo que yo estoy llamando es para que consideren eso desde el principio del diseño, para que
se pueda editar el contenido
fácilmente.
Lo tenemos en cuenta.
En un futuro se da un servicio. Cualquier material así. Y desde el punto de vista de lo que se quisiera colocar en la página o el sitio del grupo, pues para que no generar como compartimentos con herramientas distintas, sino que
sea lo mismo.
Que sea el mismo ambiente y entonces si la herramienta es distinta, pero sea la herramienta la que cambie y no que uno tenga que cambiar.
Ahí tocaría ver es cómo generamos contenido compatible con las distintas listas. Porque verlo pues acá requiere cierto procesamiento y verlo por ver.
Sí, yo ni siquiera estaba pensando como en unificar los dos tipos de cosas, porque pues sí es como de conflictos que no son necesarios teniendo en cuenta que las características son tan distintas. Pero sí me parece fundamental el hecho de que la aplicación y los datos sean completamente independientes. Entonces, básicamente, el PowerPoint sea un PowerPoint que haga archivos de la aplicación. Entonces, Sí, eso. Pues sí, porque no, no depende de porque uno cuadra el marranito para que cargue exactamente como es, pero el marranito tiene un militadito, sí, itinerario, entonces
No,
otra cosa.
Lo va marrando.
No, marranito como es debido. Pero sí,
No, pero yo creo que
es
sí,
buena la iniciativa.
recibirlo como servicio.
De pronto puedes contar, ya que tienes tiempo, lo que vamos a hacer en este mes.
Se puede una demostración.
De este mes. Es el
Ok, ya.
de agosto.
Lo que hemos pensado para este mes es hacer un juego pensado para incentivar la paz en un contexto colombiano. Entonces queremos que el core del juego sea la temática cooperativa. Entonces, pues, lo que hemos pensado a grandes rasgos es que pues, los usuarios se puedan conectar y, pues, por así decirlo, cooperar. Y de esta, por medio de intentar desbloquear una imagen, por así decirlo. Entonces, uno de los usuarios lo que va a tener que hacer es estar dándole instrucciones al otro para que él pueda ir ordenando en un tablero la imagen. Y ya cuando logre ordenarla como es debido, pues que la imagen se logre, pues cuando ya está ordenada, mostrar. Y pues meterle a la imagen como tal temáticas, como por así decirlo, por debajo, enfocadas hacia la paz en Colombia.
Como un rompecabezas.
Exactamente, pero que al principio está desordenado y por medio de las instrucciones del otro, pero no lo ordenado.
Pero que no era como un master slave, digamos, que no fuera maestro esclavo, sino por ejemplo que cada uno tuviera una parte de la respuesta. Digamos que yo sé, son 12 fichas, yo tengo la posición de 6.
Yo pongo eso.
Yo sé dónde hay 6, las otras no sé dónde están, para que no sea que el lunes operador mío, el que yo soy el que se usted en ese caso, sino que tiene que cooperar, porque son las cooperación. Pero tienen un poco el rancho y que haya conocimiento.
Eso creo que estábamos
El
pensando.
conocimiento incompleto, que los dos necesiten el uno del otro.
Lo que estábamos pensando era que se jugaran varias partidas y cada quien pudiera tener un rol
Ir
distinto.
cambiando, sí,
Pero en un solo juego puede ser.
Es más cooperativo, copiando de la palabra. Si no es.
Esto también es enviado.
No, esto va a ser móviles. La idea es que pueda ser un móvil sencillo y es, digamos, dos objetivos. El primero, probar otra tecnología. Queríamos probar ahí aquí, algo de realidad aumentada al principio, pero decidimos hacer algo más masivo, que podamos mostrar más juegos serios pensando en una conferencia que me ahorita en octubre. Y pues que el tema está muy de moda. Pues,
Volviendo al punto anterior, ¿qué compañías, en un estado del arte, digamos, compañías de nuestro entorno que puedan ser susceptibles de hacer una cooperativa
para que nuestra
pensando en lo de
sí, no todavía,
Carlos Duque y en lo de
no todavía porque digamos
tiene ahí, pero no con que está trabajando con los que tenemos
Carlos Duque y bueno, son egresados nuestros, pero tienen en cierta medida el know-how, saben qué desarrollar y cómo desarrollarlo. O sea, esos son los spin-off en teoría chéveres. Estos son los que pueden tener la idea, pero no tienen el músculo de desarrollo. Entonces son como más pequeños, diría yo.
Sí, pero si queremos 50 millones por año,
Se necesita 500 empresas, pero no
¿cómo va a alcanzar?
sí. Entonces estamos. Bueno.
Sí, pero hacer ese estado yo creo que es importante y pues nosotros podemos ayudar en un pedacito y buscando, yo creo que toca construir ese entorno y nosotros preparar como un pitch de qué es lo que queremos de esas empresas, de empezar ahora con esto de hacer
Entonces son más grandes.
Claro.
Son grandes. Sí, no importa. Pues eso se los puede pedir más.
Ser una cooperativa
multigordito.
¿Y dónde podemos bajar el demo?
El demo próximamente espero que estén
Ah, ya está el mes pasado.
El mes pasado. El mes pasado va a estar publicado.
No.
Próximamente espero que esté.
A veces parecemos de acuerdo.
Ahora tenemos a Johnny. Si quieres en inglés para nuestros invitados.
Kind of, yes. So, I am kind of like a wild card. So I don't really have a presentation or anything prepared. But the thing is that I'm trying to send a paper deadline tomorrow to the Human-Computer Interaction Conference. And I will really appreciate your feedback. So pretty much what I'm going to do right now is to do like an improvisation of a user style, like a massive user style here, you know. So I have a challenge for you. So who can give me, let's do this, an improv session. Who can give me a program domain for data representation? So here is the thing. I don't have actually much to show you here, but basically the idea is that I'm trying to come up with a solution that help us. We'll have to start throwing things. So I'm trying to come up with a solution that help us analyze any type of data set. So who can give me a data problem? Like a data set that has like a lot of, okay, like maybe one you guys are working on, or, okay.
But you need that the data exists.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like, I just right now I just need to challenge you guys to try to come up with a solution, and then if the magician act goes well, then I'm going to demonstrate to you that I have a better solution. You see what I'm going? So usually when you do research and information visualization, you have to demonstrate what I'm claiming to say right now. That is the whole concept of you have this problem, there are some solutions that you can use right now, and I have a better one. Like, how do people do research on machine learning? They come and say, oh, my algorithm is 0.00003% faster than yours. How do people do research on computer vision and things like that? They say, oh, my algorithm segments more things than yours. In information visualization, what we do is that we say, I have a technique that is better for analyzing data than yours. So who can give me a data problem? So imagine I just need a data problem that has more data than what you can show on one screen, which is.
I have one, but it's kind of tricky because it's related to what Jose Luis was doing. He said, let's assume that you have all the data of people selecting seats for an event.
Sure.
And you want to find out what correlation you can find between the same person selecting seats in different events and different people selecting seats in one event.
Sure. So I failed to say one thing, though, is that my solution is not really to find correlations, but what I needed is like the problem domain. So let's say that we have events like concerts or whatever, and then we have all the seat assignments that people have done in the past. So let's assume, like very easily, that we have we could say that we have 10 million records of that. Okay. How do you show that to a user? Okay. So imagine that you just go and you just create an interface for that. Okay. And then in that interface, and usually in those interfaces, the idea is that you just come up with something in here that in which I'm going to use something to show those 10 million records. So, like whatever. So since these are seed assignments, so they don't really have too much information, so they could be super easy. And then I just could say, like John seated in 1E in, I don't know, certain event. And
Cirque du Soleil.
by the way, it was a good show.
It's a good show.
Whatever you want, whatever.
It is.
Yeah, I know, but whatever you want, it's still good. So I have this, and then you replicate it. How many of these can you show?
Like 5 in that one.
Like in that 5. But you have to ensure that you can actually show all of it. Okay, so here's my challenge. I need a solution. So I have 10 million of those, but I have limited screen. So what is the best thing you can do for a user interface to allow someone to explore all of the 10 million? Of course, you cannot explore all of them at the same time, exactly the same time. But what will be your best solution? Of course, reducing the font size is one, but so what will be the best solution? Like for navigating and telling the user, like you have 10 million, and then these are as many as you're seeing.
Using a heat map.
So you could use a heat map, but with that, you will be representing certain information. So that is a good solution whenever you know exactly what you want to compare. And actually, Paulo's example, it's perfect because on the heat map, you need a sequential variable. So, I mean, here, the variable is like a seat assignment, which has number and letter and things like that. And it's not like a linear one.
Oh, but it could be like a heat map in a map of chairs.
Oh, okay. So aggregating all of those, yes. So that would be one way for that. And that's a great solution. But that will not work if my data set is all the peaks, lungs, photos, or sonograms that we have. So I need a solution that will work for any problem. That's a great solution. Like another thing, like I'm buying products in Amazon. Like that's one of the best. How many products does Amazon have? And how many can you see? So what will be the best solution for you to navigate all of those? To summarize, so you pointed something very good, that is summarizing all of them. And then to summarize and to navigate. Who can give me a better one?
You have the time where
the event. Yes. So that's another great
not
one.
only the concert, but which were the first seat that was selected.
So you have what with that, I'm actually can say you actually have all the metadata of that. So you could have a linear variable that you could use, like the count of how many times this seat was selected. And then you also have categorical information. Like, was it a concert or was it a theater thing? Or do you also have time information? So all of those, then if you want to cover any problem, you have many of those attributes. So you can use those attributes to navigate information. So how would you use those attributes? So a heat map, it's one representation. So you actually can go and then you can say, here is a distribution of those things, and then you say, oh, if you notice, like in this area, it's where most people are going, and then if you click in there, then you select only the seats that go in there. So that's one solution. Who can give me another one? Like if somebody challenges you with that.
The most frequent clients.
Like the most frequent client. So this could be like the seat assignment. What was that?
You have from one side the people, from the other side the seats, maybe the portion or the event,
Yes.
and
The time.
the relationship,
time.
the time in which the relationship was established.
And then you also have the event. And then, what was the other one you were mentioning? It wasn't written, but basically it could be like attributes. Yeah. Okay? So, I don't know. Does everyone agree that this is the best that we can offer now?
Yes.
Thank you. So I hope I'm not like biasing you too much, but usually this is what it's called a faceted search. And that's actually what you get. I wonder what would be a good example. If we go to Amazon, so Amazon doesn't have the best faceted search, but it does have something.
So let's say I'm going to buy video games. So I'm going to say Nintendo Switch. Or actually, usually a good one is I want to buy a monitor. So when I do that, this is the best representation that you have. Usually the best right now in the market, it's like a scrollable interface. So that's what happens when you have images. Then you just show like a scrollable thing. And here you have the faceted search. This one is actually crappier than what we are designing because this one doesn't show us distributions. So this one is saying that there are some monitors that are 50 inches, but it's not telling us how many monitors that are 50 inches or more does Amazon have. Okay, does that make sense? So you could use a tree map also in here for selecting things, depending if the attribute is categorical. But in any case, at the end, you want to be able to analyze this. I want to be able to, and Amazon does that in here by being able to say, I only want 24 to 21, and then immediately it updates this. Okay, so it helps me navigate that. Okay, so here comes my solution. So, examples work here. So actually, that problem that I'm describing can be even worse when you're doing network visualization. Because usually with a network visualization, this is a network visualization, by the way. And it's a super tiny visualization. And it's kind of the canonical example that you always see. That it's like Les Miserables, Los Miserables, and it's showing each one of the characters in the play. And then there is a connection between those two characters. Each character, of course, is a circle. There is a connection between those two characters if they appear in the same scene together, okay? So in this one, I'm showing this representation in here. And in this case, I'm only showing two attributes. So one is if the node is visible or not. And the second one is which group it belongs to. Now, what I can do in here is that I can say, I only want to select this group. Or maybe I only want to select the green group. Or actually, I can sort things by the group. And then I can see what are the biggest groups. And then I only want to see these nodes. So what you can see in here is that I can select by one attribute. I can select two groups or more. And then I say, I'm only showing these two in there. Or I can actually move my selection and then show the other ones that are in there. So the first attribute that you see here on the left is that it's on green. It's telling you if it is visible or not in that box. Now, the interesting thing about this is that after selecting a group, you can go and say, well, what if I also want to select only these elements from here? So when you do that, then you do a second level selection. So in there, it is summarizing all the data. It's showing each one. It's saying that we have originally 77 rows in there. And then I did an initial selection that was 38. And then at the second one, that was only selecting 6 elements. Questions, comments, please.
What if you want to select two different ranges?
Oh, right now you cannot do that.
But how would you do it?
How would you do it?
Could you
I have an
use a
idea.
circle?
What?
A circle or multiple ranges?
And how will you do with the circle the different regions selection?
I have to think it, but I know it's possible.
But how? I mean,
You could select like in a pie different chunks of that pie, and those would be the different values.
yeah, but what I was thinking, and maybe I'm not understanding the question well, is that one of the things you could do is, the way I will do it from the interface is holding shift, and then holding shift, and then like expanding the selection. But in here, I'm limited to selecting the things that are neighbors. The other thing I added is being able to select the whole group when you change the selection. So actually, let me show you a real list. So not to brag, but these are all the 11,000 followers that I have on Twitter. And then when you look at that, I have like all of them visible, and then you see this terrible like postmodern artist creation. I haven't calculated.
It's like a field.
I guess. I even calculated some clusters in there, and one of the things that you can see from there is that I have 3 clusters. Like this blue cluster is the one that you see down here, the orange cluster that is the one in here, and then this blue cluster that is really not connected to the others. But nobody asked what were these lines. Anyone knows? can guess? Like if I show it in here, what do you guys think that those lines are? Oh, by the way, I have a marker.
The lines that are visible?
The links that are visible. So actually are the links between all the nodes. So this is telling me that the people from this cluster are connecting a lot with the other one. And then it is actually kind of visible in there that between the cluster there is a lot of connectivity. So that is just another way of representing. So I can do exactly the same trick. I can come and say, show me only these ones in here. And then it is actually showing that they are like tightly connected. If I select, for instance, these ones in here, you see that everyone in the orange one is super connected where the other ones are. So it's just an extra representation. Now, the thing that you can see in here is that I can actually perform like a lot of interactions in there. So for instance, I can remove this. And then here are all the nodes that are visible. And then these are different attributes that I have for each one of those nodes. So for instance, I have the degree of each one of those. And then you see that it goes from really low level to like some in here that are very tightly connected. Like all of these people in here are super tightly connected. So right there, I just selected like a bunch of the most highly connected nodes that I have in my net. So that not only shows me the total of all the elements that are in there, but I can also say, show me like, I don't know, the 10% lowest nodes in there, I don't know. And then from there, you get a different group, like for instance, this going back to the most connected ones. From these highly connected ones, I can say, show me all those by cluster, and then I can say, only show me the blue ones, and then you see the connections between those, that it's almost like a click, like almost everyone is following each other in there. Or you can select everyone in the orange. Now, if you notice these things in here, like for instance, this is a user that is quite special. And I'm able to see that in here, because you see that this user that is Kathy, Huina, or whatever, has 13,000 followers, which is quite different from everyone else. So what I'm claiming with this, and then what I would love to hear your feedback is that this is a tool that can be used not only for networks, but actually for any other type of data set. It will represent in a very concise way, like a lot of attributes, although it's a little bit difficult to read, and I can tell that by your faces. But at the same time, it also helps me selecting and filtering different elements. So that's what the paper is supposed to be about. So comments, ideas, what do you guys think? Is this, of course, it's harder than the faceted search, but do you guys think that this has any advantage over the faceted search? That is kind of the state of the art. And that's why I was asking you guys to think about that at the beginning. Comments? Please.
Can you represent more than one attribute at the same time?
I'm actually representing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like for instance, this is an interesting. This is showing you where are the users connecting from, or what is the offset of their time zones. So it's kind of a proxy of that. So by the time zones. So I can show from the most highly connected, I can show you all of those that are in the offset minus 25,000. So I can select those, or all the 1800s, 18,000s, anyhow. So it is showing you all of that information. I don't know if it's clear, so that would be my question. Is it clear that it's showing all of that information?
I guess you need some training.
Yes, definitely.
To read it. And in that sense, do you have an idea of how much training you require to get at least as proficient in this representation as?
No, I have not. That's a great question.
And how to find a message related with the size and you see only that the existence of the object that are complying with the condition, but no more. The internal relationship we can't see. And why you display very small is if it's my interest objects, why is too much small?
Oh, this one?
Yes.
I don't care about this.
Because, but I am the observer.
But I'm not creating a tool for you for navigating networks.
Ah.
I'm creating a summarization widget.
But the summarization is too much summarizing.
No, this is, you shouldn't look at this part. So you should only look to the left of the screen. But this is just,
okay.
what I'm saying is that I'm not paying any of the, as you can actually see that it's super buggy, it's crappy. So I totally agree with you, it's total crap, but I don't care because this could be the representation of all the images, it could be the representation of the settings. So that's up to the developer. So, and that's a great point. So maybe I need to make that extremely clear. This is a tool for developers. This is a tool for a developer that is starting some exploration. And then instead of using the faceted search, I want them to use this one. It's harder to understand, it will require more training, but I argue that it's more concise, it's representing more information, and then with all the idea of being able to select the attribute and sort by that, and then selecting this element, and then with the nested searches, I think it adds a lot of value. So from that offset, I can select all of those that are highly connected, and out of those that are highly connected, I can select those that have a high number of followers. So doing this in the faceted search, I argue is not that easy. So of course it's super crap. Actually look at this, but it's not even showing the notes anymore. Because this is just a demo. But what I'm doing is the widget. And then the nice thing is that to add that widget, you only need to add 3 lines of code.
Maybe you don't need to write the same attributes all over. Maybe you can use colors or numbers for that.
No, I can't. But that's a good idea. But the problem is that I have so many colors already that if I do that, I think it will be overwhelming. What do you think so? Like for instance, I already have all the colors for these for the offsets. And then if I added more colors, or how are you thinking?
The name, I'm just talking about the name of the labels, like numbering them, because you're not like we cannot read exactly what it says there.
And do you think with colors we will be able to?
Or numbers? Maybe you have like a.
And that's harder. That's actually harder. I can put it horizontally.
Maybe a zoom.
Local zoom in order to facilitate the selection.
Oh yes, like maybe like a lens.
Some lens.
Yeah.
Items. Something that is also difficult to manage is the space.
Yes.
In this one, you grow, the more selective you are. In the other, you always have the same space, and you are just selecting which I don't know, ranges you want. I agree with you that this gives you more information, but the problem is that you require more space.
Totally. Yeah, and the other one, I think in the other one, it's easy to know what it's actually selected now, because when you go to Amazon, I mean, for a reason, this is the current state of the art. In here, it is very easy for me to see that I have this, but I kind of have lost all of the sequence of the steps. Is that this is not showing as much information as I have, because this is not showing the distributions. So a better way will be actually what I did, I think. This one. So basically, when I was doing network visualization tool, in that case is what Hillary was complaining about, I actually created these two. So this one has the distribution, and I still can do the selection. And then I also, I can select by node size, I can also select by link size, and then you get like certain nodes. So, but as you can see, I can only show 2 variables here. It's way more clear, but that's only as much as I need. So the whole idea of having this widget is that it's packing a lot of information. And I think it's like one of the most powerful things it has. Not only being able to have direct manipulation, that is that when you hover, you see that it is actually showing you who is here. It would be nice if it actually showed like highlight on the visualization. but then being able to just say, oh, so select me only these values in here, like the typical hypertext. So you see like that outlier in there, like, why is this one so high? Like this one. So, and then you go back to that. You see?
I think it's a bit difficult when you are selecting a subset and you try to visualize the subset, and I don't think we need to focus anymore
to the previous one? Like you mean to this one? To this one and this one, I guess? Like those.
Maybe you can do it a little bit more interactive. So when I was making mouse, it's one subset, it may also be the complex.
So yeah, I love that idea. One of the things I was considering is like given that we have so many times those things repeated in there. I was thinking like maybe having a version in which I only show how many are visible in here, and then I don't know, like maybe one. So I compress the previous ones, and then when I come back, expand it. But maybe expanding on demand when you interact would be like a nice effect.
What does the darker color mean?
Which one?
Any.
So basically, like if I sort like that, where like I just sorted by degree, okay, and then this is the color. So all of these in one, like the monitor is not really helpful there. But where do you think are the values in there? How do you think are they distributed? Like where do you think are the nodes that have lower degree values?
If we are the whiter or the darker?
But if you have to guess,
I would say the lighter.
the lighter. That is the case. So, so actually, yes, that's the way I'm encoding. So the lower values are the lighter, and the darker values are the higher. So when you see that the degree distribution, you see that it's like we actually have a very smooth distribution. Which, by the way, it's one of the things that is risky here. Because when you see, for instance, the distribution for the friends count, and you guys see that. So now I selected friends count. Oh, by the way, this is crappy. That's place why you cannot see any of the attributes. It looks better on your screen. So the third column is friends count, like how many people follow them, or how many people they follow. And when you see that, you see like that is the second column, not this one, the second column. And then it's light all the way, and then there's a very small number of people that have all of it. It's a power distribution. So that's something that you cannot get from the faceted search that Amazon has.
Unless you use elevated scale.
Yeah, but I'm actually thinking on that. So the tool is flexible enough that you can define your own color scales. So if you want to add different colors for each one of the columns, you can do that. If you want to use log scales or power scales, all of that, you can do it. What I'm saying is that you cannot do that in Amazon right now. Because actually Amazon doesn't have the summaries. And if you were to show the summaries, then you will need as much as this space. Because you will need like a whole box for each one of those. And then they are not connected. I cannot see, that's the other thing, I guess, by having to justify it here. I'm actually getting ideas, is that I'm getting all the values for that row, for that same row, on each one of the attributes, which is something that I cannot get on the other. Okay. Now, the thing on the right, that could be a table, it could be a list of elements, it's whatever you want.
And what about categorical variables?
That's a great question, too. So I have those covered, too. So actually, the UTC offset is categorical. So that's why I'm reluctant to use more colors, because when you use more colors, then I start messing up that. So this is like where is the user living at? Like in what time zone? So pretty much what that allows me to is that I can select, and this is interesting, when I'm navigating my own data, I can actually see like all of these are people that are, I think, from the US. And I actually like those sub-trees, sub-networks that you get in there, you see? But in here is very clear who is, like, what are the two groups, and then it's also very clear who are the ones that are in the middle. And then that's usually how you analyze like a complex data set like this one. It's complex and it only has 11,000 elements. It's not even 11,000, it's only 1,000. But it's still on a network, it's too many. So usually you have to divide and conquer. And with this tool, I argue that you have a lot of flexibility for doing that analysis. So yeah, but to answer the question more concisely, I'm adding like a categorical scale that is just using colors by hue. So if you have more than 20 hues, 20 values, then it's going to mess up with my thingy. But then you can also pass your own scale. So if there is a way of representing that, then you can do it. Now, for instance, in this, one of the things that I like is that I can, for instance, select, and then I see these 2 clusters, and then this is not part of the tool, but I can actually recluster things. And by doing that, I get another cluster in here, that is these ones, that are the elements that are not really connected to anything else. Then in those ones, you can actually recluster again. And then you have 3 groups, which is not really updated really fast. I have 3 groups, so I can actually see the orange one, the blue one, and the cyan one. So you can go back and forth. It's definitely a more complicated thing, but I'm hoping, and I don't know if you guys are convinced, that it could be more powerful than the facet selection.
Are you sure it will be better to have the column to the left and not in the other side?
No. So actually, one of the things is that this is flexible enough that I can use one. I was thinking for having one widget for the nodes and one widget for the links. So I was thinking of having one on the left and the other one on the top horizontal, which is also easier to read for the attributes and things. Any other comments? What do you guys think? Are you not convinced? Do you think it's too complicated? Are things that you still don't get?
It would be nice if you could like demo with Amazon and compare the reactions.
Yes. Actually, it would be even nicer just to be able to run a control experiment that demonstrates. And that would be what would get me my paper, but I don't have time to demonstrate.
How do you present the success use case and the worst case?
Well, that's a great idea. Okay, so I can think of the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario is you have a data set that is full of categorical attributes, and each categorical attribute has more than 20 options. Then in that case, I'm screwed. I cannot really show much. So I do need a sequential.
You can put this kind of condition as a
Yes,
precondition.
that's a great point because I can acknowledge in there the limitations. That's a great.
I have an idea.
Please.
Maybe sometimes when you browse in different websites, you don't care about many attributes. So maybe you can like remove some.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, especially because like if you take most machine learning data sets, like usually they claim to have like hundreds of attributes, which is not really true. Usually they take a picture and then the picture becomes like a 10 by 10. But let's say that you have 20 or 50, then it's going to be too wide. So you could select yes. All of those could be extra functionalities to be added, but they go beyond the scope of usage. But that's a great idea. Select being able to select if it is logarithm scale or power scale or changing those things. Also diverging scales, like values that are positive or negative, which we could be including there. But the idea is the same. Yes. But yes, I thought about that. That's a great idea. Anyone else? Was I a good feeler? No more comments? Ideas? No? Questions? Anything difficult to understand? I know. However, I will argue that this scales up very well. My algorithm sucks. So As of now, if you try to load 10 million points in here, it will suck. But, I mean, the only thing you have to do is just to smash more information in here. So suppose you have, tell me a number, how big do you want?
1 million.
10 billion. So suppose you have 10 billion rows, okay? So basically this is 10 billion, and then if you select this part, how much is that? Maybe a billion, maybe 1 billion. By selecting that, immediately this becomes 1 billion. And then you say, I only want to select this part in there, and then that could become like 10 million. And then you get 10 million in here, and you see that it actually starts becoming manageable. Whereas in faceted search, it's actually, you don't even have any idea of how many items are in faceted search. What is the best thing that you get when you do that? Then you get like pages. And then it says page 1 of 3,000 million pages. And then it's like, well, whereas in here is visual. However, my algorithm for doing the search and everything, it's super crappy right now. But one of the other things I've been considering, because that's what I did when I was doing network visualization, is that I could put a parameter that says, show the overview in here. You just do one pass to create like the whole thing. You just load that in memory, which is not super memory efficient. But hey, if you want to analyze 10 million, like go and spend money on memory. I mean, it's not my fault that you're analyzing such a big data. And you only do one pass. You don't need to do more than one pass. And then you just put landmarks, in which you say, like, you sort by a certain variable of interest to you. Like, I'm sorting, I don't know, projectors. So I have 10 billion projectors. And then I'm sorting by the price or whatsoever. So I still want to select the most expensive ones or the cheapest ones. I want to see what are the ones that have the highest resolution. So in that sense, I think it actually scales very well because it's the same metaphor. It doesn't matter if you have 10 billion or 10 million, billion, trillion, whatever. You still, the problem is the algorithm holding the searches, which in this case it goes in the acknowledgement, it sucks. But it's the same idea. And I think it's a logical idea. The whole concept of I selected these and these are the ones that you're seeing. And then you have an idea of how many of the items are actually on the screen, that I think it's a powerful idea. But that's a great point. You're thinking as a reviewer. I like that.
I think that if you don't care about the right part, like the points, you should make the first table much bigger. So if you select a part of the information, that size of the first table, you divide it into 2 tables and that with every table. Because it's harder to read, and even if you have the screen there, you have to make an effort to read what label says.
Yeah, you're totally right. So let me take that back. It's not really that I don't care about this part. It's more like it's not my responsibility. So what I'm doing is providing a widget for you. So let's say that someone in here challenges you with a problem. And then you get these 10 billion elements. And then you say, how do I provide an interface to navigate that? So then you provide like whatever, the pages and all of those. And then they call it, and that's why it's so small, because it's supposed to be like a widget that goes on the side. And then I also wanted it to have like all of these steps. And if it's 10 billion, then I have the problem that I will need too many steps to get to a level in which is manageable. So, but it's a great point. Now, what you guys already suggested, it's super important too, because the moment you get like to 5 steps, like it's going to be covered the whole screen. So at that point, like being able to collapse, it's super crucial. So what you're saying is extremely right, because actually, what you're suggesting in there, it's a great solution. Like it's, instead of showing that so cramped in there, why don't you just show a table with the same characteristics, like the full wide table, and then each column, it's color coded, same idea. So yes, that's good.
And I'm sorry, I think that you should like make a little window where you explain every color, because there are a lot of colors that usually we don't understand if we don't like take the tutorials or something. So if I select the red part, I know that I'm selecting these kind of people or something like that.
Yeah, that's, I'm trying to think how to do that. I mean, I guess it depends a lot on the problem domain. So in this case, in this problem domain, like selecting the red ones will get you certain things. It actually gives me a lot of trouble, the fact that I'm duplicating colors between columns, which is it's very worrisome. But the tool is flexible enough that you can actually adjust that. But yes, and then it will be responsibility of the person building the tool to actually have a nicer legend that says, this is the cluster of the Colombians, this is the cluster of the researchers, or for whatever problem, like going back to the concerts, like these are the concerts for rock music, or these are the concerts for Pope's visits.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody wanted to say something else?
How do you come up with the idea?
With the problem. So I had the problem of visualizing 100,000 nodes on the network. And then as a visualizer, the first thing you say, well, you cannot show it all. So you have to only show one part of the network. But then when I was showing like exactly what Thierry was complaining about, like when you show this, then people tend to think that this is the whole network. So then I show them like a legend in there that says, these are 76 nodes out of 1,000 nodes, or the total in the thing, and that wasn't enough. So then I say, okay, so let me show you with a bar, what is the percentage of things that you're saying? And when I presented that with the bar, I immediately say, what if I also want to show the colors of the clusters? So, and I added the colors. And then I say, but I also want to add information of the degree, because I want to select, like in that case, let's see, slides. For it was for this one. So this one is only showing 20,000 elements, and I mean it's a total of 20,000 elements, and out of those 20,000, I'm only showing like 30% of them, the most suspicious ones, and these are pharmacies and doctors that have been, I mean, that work in the California healthcare system, and each one of the nodes in there, the redder it is the most suspicious with the case, like how fishy it is. And then one of the attributes that we had is the suspiciousness. So I wanted to be able to say, show me the most suspicious ones. But I also wanted to be able to say, because this is showing the clusters, and then I'm cheating because the actual graph is this one, but that's too messy. So I removed the connections between clusters. So when you do that, then you see that like this is the most suspicious cluster, like because it's full of rotten tomatoes. But the problem is that everyone knows about it. It's like saying like, oh, the Colombian senators are all thieves. It's like, we all know that. So they didn't really care about it. They did care a lot about this cluster, because this was a cluster that was going like under the radar, but it still had a lot of bad people in there. So with this type of thing, you can select the most suspicious ones, or you can select the next level of most suspicious ones. So the ones that are not as ones, but are still doing like bad stuff. So that's how I came up with it. Now I had it for networks, and then I realized that it could be extendable to other things. So that's how I got it. And then we saw the hook getting me out of the stage. Thank you very much.
See you next Monday. If somebody's interested in free sandwiches, please.
Usa el libro texto de eso. De que esto funciona.
De que tú estás pensando es que me muestre eso.
Así, uno que yo pero bueno, quiere sus problemas. Entonces, para hacer como el caso.